There are some issues as that gesture-based UI extends into other areas. So touch is also a very native human behavior, and that's what's so wonderful and why everyone will say, like, my 2-year-old's a fantastic, amazing person on the iPad. And hypothetically, we should all be good at gesturing. The Italian's better than the Dutch. But I think that there are more restrictions on the kinetic stuff, the kinetic, whatever, stuff from Microsoft than there will be on the touch stuff. So we'll see. But I think the stuff they're doing is fun. Well, in general, the enterprise has a lot of these, right? As you point out, they call it the consumerization of enterprise, which is that the user sets their expectations on a consumer application and then they carry them with them to work. And even the devices are blended now. They'll use one phone from work and one phone, so it's less. So it's happening a lot on the enterprise side. I would say whenever something becomes wildly popular, like an iPhone or whatever, remember when the iMac came out and briefly everything was called iSomething and everything became white plastic with a color. You could get a toaster in 6 colors. And so there's always a sort of over-exaggeration from the design community, because I'm sure there's a CEO somewhere saying, like, I want our iMac to be looking like a blueberry. So we will see a lot of those things. We notice already that any screen that we're interfacing with, we notice people that have been using, so for kids, which give us a sense of what a primary gesture-based UI or a primary social user will be like. And then they'll use a pattern that was established by maybe those of us that are from the older PC days or from something else. For them, it is less intuitive for them to use certain applications that date back prior to Facebook or prior to the touch-based user interface. So you should expect those kinds of patterns that are established, whether they're social patterns or identity and how identity is managed, and that's changing with social networks. That'll manifest itself through a lot of things. It will clean up a lot of stuff. So having a known identity that you can refer against, whether it's online or not, will dramatically simplify my ability to deal with Hertz and my ability to deal with United Airlines, not reestablish my identity every single time. So there are lots of those types of things. But I think about it in terms of patterns, what we'll find is that because the difference between what mobile has done and what the PC did is the PC was still something you sat down at your desk, you interfaced with a keyboard, which was sort of non-native, you used a mouse, which is a metaphor. On mobile, it's omnipresent, it's always in your pocket, so its ability to affect it is both direct and indirect. So, like you said, some things that are inherited in a new behavior because it's similar to that behavior and they expect to see things. But in some cases, the difference will just be that you will pull out your mobile phone and you will actually do a transaction there that you were otherwise doing physically or face-to-face. Or for me, the ones I hate are over the phone. Like, none of us want to do those over-the-phone transactions. Hopefully, I think a lot of people are hoping that voice, Siri, and that kind of thing will also. There are a lot of interactions we're doing with machines today that are very inefficient, where you have to tap, remove, like to set up a calendar event can be like 100 keystrokes and something you can do with your voice in one line. So those will be the ones I'm looking forward to. You just want to do less. You want to spend less effort to do the same task, and that's sort of the model of simplicity. And in the UX side, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for ease of use, intuitiveness, simplicity. So I think there are a bunch of good trends coming. There'll be some awkward moments as we sort of just look at how 140 characters has sort of changed how people even think about communications, right? It used to be what you could say in 140 words, now it's 140 characters. And I find myself doing it all the time. Like, why am I using shortcut words and abbreviations into my email where there's no constriction on 140 characters? I own a home, and so I'm really ready to get rid of all the systems that run homes, which were done in like the 20s. So I have a Nest smart thermostat in my house, which I really enjoy. I bought a few of those already for my family members, trying to get them onto that piece. I can't wait for those types of things to push in to your life, where things that you have to program. We saw it with like a TiVo and how it did to a VCR, but the next layer of all these things is zero program, zero touch. It's able to it's either on demand or you can get whatever you want. So I think the combination of smart devices, whether iPhones or iPads, a lot of the new cool gadgets I'm getting are actually just apps. Right, these are really nice interfaces that I can play around with. But I would say the Nest is kind of the one that gets me and says, like, oh, this is going to be awesome. The Pebble, which was announced on a few days ago and raised $5 million or whatever on Kickstart, which is a watch that interfaces with your phone and does a number of things. Really interesting, right? It instantly, of course, being what I am, the lemming to these, I instantly bought it before I even knew what it did. But and that actually is falling onto a technology that they call the Internet of Things. So instead of having to connect to a server to do every single thing, you actually have devices talking to devices, and each one has a set of sensors that are good for them, whether they detect temperature, location, or current. And so the connected house or the connected car and all these things are actually going to become a lot faster, a lot more real because of this Internet of Things, which is it's a different move. But I actually thought the Pebble Watch was a pretty wonderful example of, it's not connecting to the internet, it's just connecting to my phone. And together those two know enough about certain things that they can present you a pretty wonderful experience, whether you're running or riding your bike or sleeping or trying to do whatever. So